Hello everybody, my name is Seansterverse here with a special update on what's going to be happening later this year and beyond. So, with the 10-year anniversary of this channel, like nearing halfway through the year, I thought I'd stop by and give everyone a little bit of an update on what's going on behind the scenes, particularly what's going to be happening in this year and 2027 onward. And well, there's going to be a bit of good news and a bit of bad news. So first of all, I'll get the bad news out of the way, which comes with good news. So the good news is that in the Duel Links season of this year, we're going to be covering the Dark Side Dimension story and also the finale. That's the bad news because, and it might be the last series of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. Now, there were plans to cover the Rush Duel story, and there were a lot of duels being planned, but as I was recording these particular duels, and they just came to a point where, you know, while covering over and going over the bits and pieces for the Dark Side Dimension story and the finale of the series, I just feel like that it felt like a good finale at the time, and after going over and especially, you know, going through some prototypes and what the Rush Duel story would look like, I feel like it wouldn't hit as good or hit it as well as good as I hoped with that I did with everything covering Yu-Gi-Oh! to Brains, and I wouldn't wish to dare tarnish on what makes Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s and Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush as good as they are today. As much as I would love to show the duels, and there will of course be, you know, at least a few videos in the online duel special that will be covering those characters, but kind of like how Team 4 Star ended with DBZA, they feel like that everything was all wrapped up, everything was all good, to be fair. And again, as much as I would love to cover the story of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s and Go Rush and Duel Links, with the story that was made for the whole Duel Links saga in general, it just felt like a point where it feels all wrapped up and well, but rest assured, it will. Although it is the finale, there is going to be a bit of good news behind this, because coming in 2027, there is going to be a whole new story in general as a epilogue to the Seansterverse saga, where it's going to be a new world, new characters, a whole new playground to mess around with in writing, and serving as an epilogue to the Duel Links series. And again, there will be an online duel special this year, as is tradition, with at least one last time. But although this does seem like a bit of bad news, don't worry, this will not be the last bit of content of Yu-Gi-Oh! In this channel affair. There will be others, but with how the story is and how it all wrapped up, like with this upcoming finale, I feel like that it's safe to say that this series of Duel Links is going to be its best, and it's going to end up like probably one of those finales where it's unexpected, but it can be heartwarming at the same time. But other than that, there is a little extra bit of good news in there too. For in 2027, there is going to be 5 or 6 Seansterverse finale stories. Now, one of them, of course, is War to the Seansterverse, which, of course, is going to wrap up the whole multiverse saga in general, in which it's probably going to be very big. There's going to be a lot of characters involved, and it is going to be quite the show. I'm looking forward to sharing it with everyone. And in December of this year, there is going to be another Trinaverse story, just like how JoJo's Bizarre Adventure World Stars was, but this time in the world of My Hero Academia, which of course was voted by all of you, my friends, my family, and amigos, in which I'm very thankful for all your support. And hopefully with, just like how I did with Naruto to Boruto the Shortster Cut, I hope that this retelling of My Hero Academia will hopefully not be as good as the original, but at least on par with the original, I hope. Maybe even a few changes here and there to make it just a little bit special. And then, another thing I'd like to mention is that Seansterverse's Isekai is more than still set for its eventual release in the 3rd of September of this year. Hopefully with an extended special, kind of like how, well, because as some may know, on Netflix, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Steel Ball Run was released with a over 40-minute episode. So with that being in mind, the first episode of Seansterverse's Isekai and the last episode of Isekai could be quite extended depending on what content is involved, but we will still be aiming for the 12-episode run time. of this series, so it should still be a good show all the same. And then, of course, two more pieces of information to go before we get onto the main event. So that's technically free. Technically free in general. I mean, what am I talking about with two? The first out of the three of the final updates from this little special update is that Doctor Who Parallel Vortex is going to officially be revealed and premiere in mid-May. That means the middle of May. So any time between between the days in May, that's when you could expect Doctor Who Parallel Vortex to come out. And then for 2027, because it's like a big event, and hopefully there'll be a nice little bit of a trailer for it, at least by the end of the year. But do you all remember at the time when I did a Dragon Ball What If called Horror of the Stars? Well, thanks to recent events and of course Dragon Ball Daima's eventual ending for episode 20 and the release of the DLC in Kakarot, I can officially announce that coming in 2027, Dragon Ball Super What If Horror of the Stars is coming back with Dragon Ball Daima story content. Now, as much as I'd love to do story content based on the Moro arc, Granola arc, but that it was just recently revealed that there was going to be an anime of that, so there might not be enough content to work with. I could go through all the manga, but seeing as that Dragon Ball Daima was one of the last pieces that Akira Toriyama wrote, I felt like this would be a grand return and a perfect send-off to the Horror of the Stars series with one last arc. Even though I said that the Dragon Ball superhero stuff was the final bit, yeah, I wouldn't want to leave Daima in the dust. And although there are a bit of ups and downs of the Daima story in general, and many people have tried to rewrite those little things in general, there are going to be changes, as is true in some of the arcs in Horror of the Stars, and Dragon Ball Daima is going to get some changes with at least enough content for each of the demon worlds, including the second. The second's getting a little bit more extended than usual, as YouTubers like Totally Not Mark are trying to extend, because the second demon world didn't get as much love as the first or the third demon world. So Horror of the Stars is going to be expanding the second demon world as well, and we're looking forward to sharing every single bit of what Horror of the Stars has to offer with all three demon worlds, each with a fair bit of content which keeps everything all exciting, and a few surprises at the end too. I'm sure I can't reveal too much about it, but I can assure you that it is going to be grand. And with that, that's going to be the end of the update part so far. So before I head out, I do have a little surprise on what you can expect later on in 2027, including a very special preview to a series I'm working on for a series that's coming out in mid-2027 that is going to be celebrating over 30 years of a certain blue blur. Now, which one do... Oh, yeah, I know. And I'm sure some of you do too. So without any further ado, I'll leave it at that. Hope to see everybody next time. Thank you so much for coming by for this special update. And now, here are a few sneak previews to what you can expect in the 2027 lineup for the Seansterverse stories that have yet to come.